Hello everyone and welcome to today's service. I'm Sophie and I'm back again to host this Sunday. Guess I wasn't that bad last time. So what is coming up today? Mark and Abby are leading us in worship, Richard tells us the kids' story, Andy leads us in a reflection, and we're going to hear about my mum Sue's story of faith. All of that to look forward to, but just before we get going, I'm just going to pray. Lord, I pray for everyone watching this today. I pray that they will take this time to focus on you and listen to what you have to say. Lord, I pray that they will take these words into the coming week and use them to guide them. Amen. Okay, over to Mark and Abby for some worship.
all is stripped away, and I simply come, longing just to bring something that's a word that will bless your heart. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within, through the way things appear. You're looking into my heart, and I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for everything I've made, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. La da da da, la da da. I'll bring you more than a song. I'll bring you more than a song. I'll give you my whole heart. I'll bring you more than a song, and I'll bring you more than a song now. But I will give you my whole heart. Yeah, I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus. The Lord's my shepherd, all I want. He makes me lie in pastures green. He leads me by the still waters, and His goodness restores my soul. And I will trust in you alone, and I will trust in you alone. the darkest night. I will not fear the evil one. You are with me, and your rod and staff are the comfort I need to go on. And I will trust in you, and I will trust in you. For your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me, and I will trust now, and I will trust in you. And I will trust in you alone. And for your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home. La 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 la. 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 La 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 la.
Thank you, Mark and Abby, for that amazing worship. Now over to Richard for the kids' story, still continuing the adventure of Moses in the Bible. Richard.
This story is called Who's the Hero? Have you ever been on a long walk? Maybe such a long walk that you got tired and wanted to stop? You needed a rest. Well, imagine if you had to do that almost every day. That was what the Hebrews were doing. They'd escaped from Egypt and were on their way to the Promised Land. They walked in a big group and sometimes got a bit spread out. Day after day was the same, but this time God had planned something different. There was a fierce tribe of people called the Amalekites. They saw the Hebrews walking across their land, and even though no one stole anything or left any litter, they got very angry and decided to attack. As you can imagine, everyone ran, dropping their belongings. The Amalekites were happy because they could steal the stuff left behind. So, who was the hero on that day? Was it the children running away? Well, yes, they were scared, and as you know, all of the Hebrews ran from Pharaoh. The children were doing what their parents and God taught them. After all, God had protected them from the plagues and then the Egyptians. He'd used the pillar of fire and the Red Sea, and all they'd had to do was run away. But this time, God had planned something different. The children told Moses, then Moses listened to God and asked Joshua to fight the Amalekites. This time they had to defend themselves. So Joshua collected a group of people together, found some swords and shields, and the next time the Amalekites came, they were ready. The battle started well, with the Hebrews pushing back the Amalekites. So who was the hero, helping them win? Was it the young men, tall, strong and thin? Well, yes, but their effort wasn't enough. They started to tire. The fighting got tough. You see, normally a battle is won by the side with the strongest people, the best weapons and the best tactics. And it looked like the Amalekites might have all three. Even so, this time God had planned something different. Moses had gone up a hill to watch the battle. and when he saw his people starting to lose, he raised his arms high, holding his staff. Can you try that? Lift your arms and see how long you can keep them up. Anyway, when Moses held up the staff, the Hebrews started to win again. So, who was the hero keeping them strong? Moses and staff standing so long? Well, yes, but his arms started to drop. The battle went badly. The winning had stopped. Moses had done things on his own before. He held his staff over the Red Sea and it had parted in front of them. He had hit a rock with the staff when the people were thirsty and water came out so they could drink. All he needed to do was hold up the staff, but he couldn't keep it high enough. This time, God had planned something different. Moses' brother Aaron and a friend called Hur had come up the hill with him. They saw what was happening and wanted to help. What do you think they did? Well, they made Moses sit down and stood next to him and helped him hold it up. That made it easy for all three of them, so the staff stayed up high and the Hebrews fought really well. They completely won the battle. So, who was the hero helping him hold? Aaron and Hur standing so bold? Well, yes, and this time, as last in the link, God did the work. It just makes you think that a battle is won not by 1, 2 or 3, but all of us doing what God lets us see. So, in the battles and hard things that come our way, be one of the heroes. Do your part and remember, this time God might have planned something different.
Thank you, Richard. Lovely to hear an unfamiliar part of Moses' story. We don't tend to hear about the Amalekites' attack, so that was interesting. So next we are over to Andy for the reflection.
Morning, church. Privileged to be talking to you this morning. What motivates me in my life? Well, really the first thing I have to say is that the grace of God motivates me. It gives me a fresh start every day. My sins are forgiven, even if I have to ask for apologies from other people and stuff like that, and I've got work to do about things I've done wrong. God is my life source, and the grace of God enables that to just keep flowing, even when I've sort of tried to cut it off by doing things wrong or whatever, my attitudes or my thoughts or whatever it is. So every day we can begin afresh. Brilliant thing, that. The other thing that motivates me is routine. I need routine in my life, particularly at the start of the day, and things like making a cup of tea and having breakfast, and then actually having other routines in the day that just keep a structure to it, keeps me going, keeps me motivated in that sort of way. The other thing that happens as I start my routine in the day is I do start to pray and start my initial conversations with God, if I can, at that point in the day. I may just say good morning to him, ask him what things are going to be going on in the day. Just sort of, it engages my brain and it also engages me with God, so it sort of works quite well for me. The other things that I do, which isn't necessarily a routine, but I do quite regularly, is I'll get out for a walk and a pray. I find that getting out onto the downs and praying whilst I walk, I can wrestle through things, ask God questions, ask for his perspectives on difficult issues that I'm thinking about, and trying to resolve things. So that's a really good motivating thing, and it helps me be motivated by doing it. I have had some issues with mental health during the lockdown, and so have been, I'm not sure if I've been sort of demotivated, but I've certainly not been very good, particularly getting angry about stuff and being constantly angry and not really knowing what I was being angry about. But having had a couple of weeks off now, one of the things that came up during that time was that my social media thing was just being a bit too much, and so I stopped it. I just closed the phone, switched it off, left it in the drawer, and within 4 or 5 hours I was really feeling the benefit of that and feeling much better. And so there's a battle going on as well, where we have to battle for our motivation and for getting into a good place to be motivated. But really, in the end, what really motivates me is my belief in God and my belief in Jesus and in the Holy Spirit and their work in my life. And I can't deny that they've worked in my life, so I can look back and see that God has spoken to me and He's challenged me and He's called me into what He's being, and that really does motivate me, that He loves me and He's seeking to change me for the better, and He is in my life, really. So that sort of, I find, it doesn't always well up, but it does well up at times. And also I think that sometimes the Bible talks about being hungry for God, and I find if I don't have much of Him for a while, then I really do want to actually engage with Him and hear Him, and so that's really, really important in for motivating me. I do believe that He has called me into this life of His, and it's a wonderful life, and it's a real adventure. That doesn't mean it's not difficult and have its troubles, of course, but it is an adventure, and it is exciting, and it's daunting, and it's difficult, but nevertheless He's called me into it, and sometimes I'm walking with Him on it, other times I'm lagging behind, or other times I'm running ahead, but motivating, that's a big motivation factor for me. Also, hearing Him speak. Now, it's not just the Bible that I find that God speaks to me. He'll speak to me in my head, if you like. He'll speak to me through my dreams, but He also speaks in books, or choosing the right book to read at the right time, through films that are saying something. I sometimes find, even if the film isn't trying to say, it's not a proper film, that would speak to me, but there's still bits in it that would say something, and so I find that He speaks in all sorts of ways, and of course creation itself, being outdoors, is a real blast for me as well. I really like it, and find it's really helpful. Bible verse, I suppose we've got to throw one in really, and the one for me is John 3:16, which is, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son, and whoever believes on Him will have life, eternal life, and won't perish." And that's a big motivating factor, because I want to partner with God. I find myself being motivated by the fact that I want to partner with Him on loving the world and demonstrating His love to the world. It's an amazing love, and it's all-encompassing and far more inclusive than we normally imagine, and it's just wonderful, and that is really, it really gets me going, if you like. So I hope a few of those thoughts have helped, and you might just really ponder on what motivates you, because it's quite a good question to ask. It's taxed me. All right, have a great day, and thanks for the privilege of speaking to you.
Strong when you Fill this place with songs again of our God who reigns on high. By His grace again we'll fly. We will shout to the north and the south, sing to the east and the west. Jesus, your Savior to all, Lord of heaven and earth. We will shout to the north and the south, sing to the east and the west. Jesus, your Savior to all, Lord of heaven and earth. He's the Lord of heaven and earth. He's the Lord of heaven and
Can we do this?
Yeah.
Here we go. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Our God, who reigns forever, our hope, our strong deliverer. 'Cause you are the everlasting God, the everlasting God. You do not fade, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak. You comfort those in need. You lift us up on wings like eagles. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Our God, who reigns forever, our hope, our strong deliverer. 'Cause you are the everlasting God, the everlasting God. You do not fade, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak. You comfort those in need. You lift us up on wings like eagles. Yes.
Hello, everybody. There's a lot we can learn from individual stories of faith. And I'm going to be having an occasional series of conversations with people in Dayspring about their journeys. Today, I'm talking with Sue Sandberg. Sue, thank you for being part of this today. I know that from childhood you had a connection with church and that you were confirmed as a teenager. Now, for lots of people, that's quite an important step forward in faith. How did that work for you?
Well, it didn't really. Confirmation for me, and I think this was my issue, not anybody else around me, was just the thing that you did when you got to 12. You know, you, like many other rites of passage, it was what you did at that age. And I had confirmation classes and things, but I learned lots of facts, and I was always quite good at absorbing facts, but connection with God didn't really happen. My perception at that time was that you went to church on Sunday morning, you did your hour, and, you know, you tried to live a good life, and that was, you know, it was down to your effort, really.
Okay, so I guess that if people had asked you whether you were a Christian, you would have said yes.
I would have probably said I was trying to be a Christian rather than I was one.
Gosh, that's a telling phrase, isn't it?
Yeah.
How would you track your journey to an active life of faith?
I think it happened when I left home. Obviously, lots of things that you rely on become unplugged, and you have to decide which bits of anything you're going to keep or not keep. And I left home by going to university when I was 18, like lots of people do. I went along on the first Sunday morning, which was actually the first full day I was there on my own, with another girl from my hall, went along to a service at the chaplaincy, because that's what you did on a Sunday morning, you went to church and wanted something to do. But while I was there, I was chatting at the end. You know, it's very much the same words and things that I'd used and heard used for the last however many years. But they were just discussing, you know, little pickety things about who could give out communion and stuff like that. And I thought, frankly, I'm not really bothered. And so I didn't bother going along again. I didn't, you know, really connect with any of that, and didn't really see any greater spiritual presence in it. It was about 4 weeks, a month later than that, went home for the weekend and felt I didn't really feel I'd fit in at home anymore, because I'd left home, and I didn't really feel I'd really settled into uni. So I came back with a real, you know, where am I? A real sort of, ooh, you know, feeling. And there was a strong hall group, a Christian Union hall group. So the Christians in the Hall of Residence, where there were a couple of hundred students, met once a week, and I think they studied the Bible and they prayed. But I got to know a few of them and just talked. And much as most people do when they're nervous or unsure, they talk too much. I talk too much, really. I might still do that, but, you know. But they listened, and they asked questions, and they were interested, and they weren't pushing a particular thing, but they were just, you know, they just were nice people about it. So I thought one night, well, I'm trying to be a Christian, I'll go along to this hall group. And I went along, and they were just, there was a something sort of clunked here. And I went back to my room afterwards, and I can remember thinking, I knelt by my bed, because that's what you do when you pray. I knelt by my bed, I was on my own, locked the door, and said, God, I can't hack it on my own anymore, I need you. And I put my head down on, I can remember still kneeling down, but put my head down on my pillow and just cried. And then suddenly it felt as if I'd had a great tight band around my chest that just sort of went ping. And I don't really remember what happened. I think I might have gone to see someone for a cup of tea or something like that. But the next morning I went into breakfast with all the other students, and one of the ladies who was serving out the breakfast said, "Oh, you look a bit happier this morning." I said, "Oh yeah, it was a watershed last night." And I can remember spending a lot of time over the next few days asking people questions, asking members of the whole group and things questions, but also just sat in my armchair in my study bedroom, just thinking and working things out in my head, and being quite relieved that God was in charge, and I didn't have to make it happen by myself, because everything else in life felt, you know, that you have to work for. Yeah, have I answered your question?
Yeah, that would be, by any standards, I think, quite a dramatic conversion experience.
Yes.
Looking back, first of all, let me ask you a question of detail. looking back, can you actually accurately think of the words that you used when you prayed? Was it "I can't hack it anymore"?
Yes.
Yeah. So it
Or
was.
I can't. I take it. I can't hack it. And not long after, I went. Take me. I can't hack it on my own anymore. Was the words. I'm almost sure. And I went down to the Christian bookshop a couple of days later. There was a Christian bookshop in the town, and I found this this little card. You know, the old-fashioned. They used to get these little cards that used to have words or inspiring phrases or whatever on. And there was one with the words of the hymn, "Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to thee." Now, I'd sung in a church choir for 10 years, so I knew my repertoire of hymn knowledge was pretty good, but I'd never heard that one before. And yeah, I can remember taking it back, and I've still got it somewhere, and holding it and reading those words and really thinking, yeah, that's my prayer.
So as you look back then, and just drawing this to a close for now, although I'm sure there's lots of other things that would be really useful to talk about, but just for now, was there any particular person in the whole group that was important in you getting involved and deciding to pray? Actually, I have one more question after this.
There's always one more.
Yeah.
There were 3 or 4 of them, actually. It wasn't a particular one person, for which I'm grateful, because you don't want to put, you know, your experience based on just one person. But there was a girl called Kathy, another girl whose name I've forgotten now, a bloke called Martin, and a bloke called Russ, and a bloke, and then there was Tim and another girl called Wendy. Now, Kathy and Martin were the most key, I think, but all of them together were, and I know at the time, I now know they were praying for me, but yes.
This is a little bit off track, but it does connect with my known special interest. What about this clunk that you felt when you went into when you went into the group, that something sort of on your first trip there got you?
What, when I first went to the hall group? Yeah. The clunk in my chest was when after I'd prayed on my own.
Okay. Yeah.
That was when I felt like something had burst.
What kept you going back to the group?
Because after that first visit, that very night, I had the experience and the encounter with God, and I think I felt it was triggered by being in with that group of people, and so I was then, I then knew that I wanted to be in with that group of people, and I started going along to church with Wendy, one of them, and Martin, another one, and just going along, going along, and when it was to a much different style of church. Whereas the church background I come from was where you said the same words every week, because it's important that God is the same yesterday and today and forever. I get that. That's really important. But for me, I was much more, I needed to experience God as he is in the now, and influencing people's lives now.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it.
Was that it?
Thank you, Mum. Lovely to hear your story of faith. Okay, that's everything for today. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed today's service. Before we go, let's just finish with a blessing. Lord, thank you for our time together. This week, may we be aware of your presence going before us. Help us to see where you're at work and join in. Open our hearts to the promptings of your Spirit for the glory of your kingdom. Amen. Okay, thank you for watching. See you next week. Bye.
Yes.